I request we remain standing for the national anthem of the Republic of Kenya and the East African Community Anthem, the national anthem. With the permission of Your Excellency, may we resume to our seats. Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, the visiting foreign cabinet secretaries, the cabinet secretaries present, Foreign Affairs and Trade, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors, high commissioners, members of the diplomatic corps, the PSS present, all invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, with your permission, allow me to invite the EU ambassador to Kenya to make her remarks. Welcome.
Your Excellency, President Ruto, Your Excellency, Cabinet Secretary Kuria, Your Excellency, Cabinet Secretary Mutua, EIB Vice President Östos, Your Excellency, Minister Olivier Becht, Principal Secretaries, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Welcome all of you to the first EU-Kenya Business Forum. A great day for the EU, for Kenya, for the private sector and for the government. For the first time, the EU and its member states have brought companies from the European Union and Kenya together. And the coming 2 days, more than 700 people will discuss how to increase investment from the EU to Kenya, how to increase trade between the 27 EU member states and Kenya. And I thank you, Mr. President, personally for coming and grace us this morning. And also for the government of Kenya's big commitment to this forum. With such a large presence, you're showing how important EU-Kenya relations are. Because Kenya is an increasingly important partner to the EU politically and economically. And Kenya has shown incredible resilience during COVID and has demonstrated a great recovery. Its thriving business community and its entrepreneurial spirit are the basis of its success. And the new government is focused on economic growth and jobs, combined with efforts to attract massive investment. Kenya and the EU share the strive for a green economic transition based on innovation and digital connectivity. This is reflected in the choice of sectors during the discussions in our business forum. And the EU and the member states support this economic transformation with two major Team Europe initiatives, and the European Investment Bank and other European development banks are standing ready to support this with their financing. Although the EU is already Kenya's biggest trading partner, there is still great potential to be exploited. And we will work together to bring more added value to this country, industries that add value, and we want to help diversify the economy and its exports. It is therefore essential also that we conclude the ongoing negotiations for the economic partnership agreement, and we hope that the negotiations we have this week will be concluded when the President goes to Europe next month. This business forum is part of the EU Global Gateway strategy. This is Europe's way to build more resilient connections with the world to tackle the most pressing global challenges, from fighting climate change to boosting competitiveness and to secure global supply chains. The coming 2 days will feature discussions on 11 important sectors, and we have more than 80 panelists who will share with us their insights on business opportunities. I'm sure that these discussions will bring on very valuable business-to-business contacts, but also business to government. So, finally, a word of thanks to our partners, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance and the European Business Council, for their invaluable support. Asanteni sana, and much success to all of you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, the EU Ambassador to Kenya. Thank you so much for your candid words. Your Excellency, allow me now to invite the Foreign Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade, Economic Attractiveness and French Nations Abroad, Honorable Oliver, to make her brief remarks. Welcome, sir.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Samuel Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Alfred Mutua, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Your Excellency Moses Kuria, Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade and Industry, Your Excellency Henriette Geiger, European Union Ambassador to Kenya, Mr. Thomas Ostre, Vice President of the European Investment Bank, Madame Carole Kariukiu, CEO of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted, sincerely delighted, to open the EU-Kenya Business Forum alongside such honorable guests. First of all, because it reflects the new partnerships that the EU and Africa have defined together and they are putting into action. This partnership is based on common values, on shared commitments to the promotion of an international rule-based order, and on collective action for a sustainable and inclusive development. We have developed together, Africans and Europeans, a comprehensive strategy that encompasses green transition, energy access, digital transformation, sustainable growth, peace and security, migration, and mobility. This is a list of the shared priorities we agreed on during the last EU-Africa summit 1 year ago. Our choice to invest in Africa is a long-term one, as well as a mutually beneficial one. We supported African countries when we were collectively hit by the COVID-19 pandemic by ensuring a fair and equitable access to vaccine in developing production capacity on the continent. We supported our African partners to find the adequate response to the macroeconomic effects of the COVID crisis and of the Russia war of aggression in Ukraine. I wish to insist on the fact that the renewed partnership between Europe and Africa is key to face global challenges, including the most pressing one, climate change. In the context of the renewed EU-Africa strategy, I must say that the relationship between the EU and Kenya is of paramount importance. The EU is Kenya's first economic and trade partner. Kenya is an economic hub in the region. It is a market with growing potential of investment. It is a strong partner for peace and stability. I want to seize the opportunity of being with you today to underline the key role played by Kenya for the pursuit of peace in Ethiopia and DRC. But Kenya has other assets. It is a very stable political system and has gone through its last election in a very successful way. The democratic transition of power was very smooth. This is why we value so much the EU-Kenya partnership and have decided last year to launch a strategic dialogue. The EU and Kenya have now established themselves as stable trade partners. The EU is Kenya's third source of imports and the biggest market for Kenya exports. Reciprocally, Kenya represents an important destination for European companies. European exports to Kenya amount to 1.8 billion per year on average between 2010 and 2020. The European Union is also a major source of funding in Kenya, investing in key sectors such as agriculture, food processing, green energy, infrastructure, circular economy, or ICT. If I take the case of my country, France has become the fifth largest investor in Kenya, with a total foreign direct investment stock just under $1 billion. Later this morning, Proparco, our national development finance institution, will sign 3 memorandums of understanding to invest in companies working in health, clean energy, and corporate management. Today, EU investments represent more than 30% of Kenya's total FDI stock, and this share should keep growing thanks to an increasing scope on investment opportunities. Beyond these numbers, I would also like to stress that the EU-Kenya partnership is supported by shared business values of openness, free trade, and sustainability. I know my counterpart, Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria, is committed to the implementation of the tripartite free trade agreement to create a free trade area based on his firm belief that open market can unlock African economic potentials. As a European who has witnesses the benefits of our single market, I could not agree more. Our commitment to open economies is anchored both in Europe and in Kenya in an ambitious climate and sustainability agenda. In other words, we do not only want to boost trade and investment, we want to boost quality trade and investment. For all these reasons, this business forum represents a unique opportunity to strengthen our partnership. Therefore, we need to promote Kenya as a business destination for European private companies and investors. I know that among you this morning are European producers, retailers, distributors, investment funds, financial institutions, Some of you are already operating in Kenya, and others are looking for opportunities. Let me tell you that I sincerely believe that this country has a tremendous potential. If I take the example of France, today about 130 French companies are present in Kenya, almost 25,000 direct jobs and twice this number of indirect jobs. This forum is also an opportunity to identify the area where the expertise of the European business community can accompany Kenya in delivering its economic priorities in line with the flagship programs set by President Ruto on food security, technological innovation, and infrastructures, among others. In other words, these forums, discussions must help the European private actors in the room to add value to the socio-economic development of Kenya. This is even more important in the context of severe drought affecting Kenya since 3 years now, in addition to the surge in wheat and fertilizers prices. I recall European Union and France are particularly committed to support public and private actors through the Food and Agriculture Resilience Mission, the FARM initiative. To conclude, I would like to thank all the panelists in advance for sharing their experience and ideas to pave the way for new partnerships. I also want to greet representatives of the European business community, some of whom have come from afar to attend this forum. Finally, I would like to thank His Excellency President Ruto, my counterpart Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria, and all the Kenyan private actors in the room for betting on Europe today. I look forward to continuing our good work together and exploring the synergies and opportunities ahead of us. I wish you all successful and fruitful meetings and discussions. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a good day. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oliver, the French Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade, for your kind words on Africa and the promise to the connection of partnership. Your Excellency, allow me now to invite the Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade and Industry, Kenya, Honorable Moses Kuria, to come and speak to us. Karibu Waziri.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, my colleague, Your Excellency Oliver, the Minister of France, Ambassador of the European Union and all the other ambassadors, my colleague, my brother, Dr. Alfred Mutua, Cabinet Minister for Foreign Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to Nairobi. And I'm surprised that Ambassador Henriette told me something in private. I was thinking that she's going to repeat it here in public, as indeed Minister Oliver has told me that all of you, the visiting delegation from the European Union, have confided in them that Kenya is the best of the best. So I want to welcome you today and tomorrow, but for one more week after that, so that you can be able to sample our countryside, our national parks, our beaches, and I know some of you may have a problem to go back to your country, but you look for a way of diplomatic communication to your country to explain to them why so many of European nationals came for a conference in Kenya and they decided to stay in Kenya. Kenya takes our relationship with the EU very seriously. We've had a very fruitful engagement this morning with both the European Union and, of course, the Minister and the French delegation. We have got now a very firm program that we are going to execute together. Most of it will be covered tomorrow when we have the strategic dialogue, which my colleague Governor Mutua and my colleague Professor Njuguna Ndungu, the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, are going to be coordinating, looking at the broader issues of security, of sustainability, and indeed development partnership. But today is the day of business. So the business of today is business. The business of Kenya is business. And in this regard, I want to reiterate and assure you that Kenya is indeed open for business. Through the Global Gateway program of the European Union, which we have agreed for our respective teams and the European Union to actually organize a deep dive in the next few weeks to look at how can we be able to create effective partnership between Kenyan business and European business. So what I am expecting is that at the end of the business forum today, we are opening a deal book, and Ambassador here is going to work with the Principal Secretary to open this deal book. Please, as I've told the delegation from France, ensure that all your partnerships, all your investments get its way into the deal book. And my commitment is that for all opportunities that are going to get into the deal book, I and my ministry will be able to follow up on a granular individual basis. So we do not see you as 250 or 500 businesses. We see you as individual businesses, and we are going to actually be your agent to follow up on all these opportunities on an individual basis. Finally, is on the issue of economic partnership agreement. EU Director Dora, who is around here, when she came to see me last December, I promised her one thing. The next time she comes to Kenya, I will confiscate her passport. And I've actually done that. And what I've told Dora is that I am only giving you your passport when we conclude all the topics under our economic partnership agreement. Our chief negotiator, PS Alfred Kombudo, is here, and I also want to confirm that I have also confiscated his passport. He cannot go anywhere. Because when Dora saw me in December, I told her that by 31st of March, we must conclude our economic partnership agreement. And I'm very proud, and I think the president is going to advise us whether he can be available to witness before that deadline with the European president to initiate that agreement, hopefully before the end of the quarter, and we really look forward to that. As the minister has said, when you are in Kenya, you are not just in Kenya. When you are in Kenya, we are looking at a gateway for Africa. That is why, as a country, we have pioneered the efforts to bring together the countries of South Africa Development Cooperation, SADC, the East African Community, and COMESA, as a vital stepping stone towards the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Because we believe, as a country, that the journey towards ACFTA, it is going very well, but I think having a modular step-by-step approach is going to fast-track these topics. That is why we are really taking this issue of the tripartite agreement between these three blocks, 28 countries, 750 million people, $1.8 trillion of population, because once we have 28 countries, and our brothers and sisters from the West and the North, we are also encouraging them from ECOWAS to Sahel to Maghreb to all these other blocks to actually take similar measures so as we can be able to fast-track our efforts towards African integration. So when we talk to Kenya, you are talking to 28 African countries where Kenya is championing that. So there were actually 27, but Kenya persuaded one more country to join so that we can be more than the countries of the European Union. So now it is 28 versus 27. Because we wanted to, some area other than the athletics where we are ahead of Europe, and also to revenge for Morocco. Thank you, Oliver. So in the next 2 months, we hope to have more countries within TFTA than the countries of Europe. In this regard also, I want to ask the European Union to continue talking to our partners and our neighbors. Because while Kenya has taken a very aggressive and robust approach towards trade negotiations, we now have PS Kombodo here is negotiating 3 major agreements at the same time with the European Union, with the US, and with the UAE, all of them at the same time, which is strenuous and draining for him and his lean team. Is because we have got everything to gain and everything to lose also if we don't take this route. You are aware, and I've said this clearly to Ambassador and the team, that some of our neighbors and some of our partners, because of the least developed country status, they continue to enjoy, free market access to your markets. And Kenya has said that really we have to have this conversation. Is it right? Is it fair? Is it moral? Is it the right thing to do for Kenya to continue suffering because we are a middle-income country? We cannot incentivize poverty. Poverty is not something you aspire for. Poverty is something you find yourself in by accident. And we want to ask European Union to continue having this conversation, even with our partners, and tell them really that, please, let's aspire to leave this LDC bracket and get all our economies to the middle income. By the way, within the next 5 to 10 years, this government, Kenya Kwanza government in the Republic of Kenya, is going to create a vacancy in the middle income because we want to be the top bracket income. So we want other countries to come in and fill in that gap. So there is space. You cannot say that you want to continue to be LDC because there is no space. We are creating a space within the middle income nations. They can come and occupy as Kenya moves upwards. Let us not incentivize poverty. Let us work together to uplift our people from poverty. Let us not continue saying that this country can continue frustrating efforts for, to open free trade simply because you are LDC, simply because you enjoy free market access. Poverty is not a good thing. It's something you find yourself by accident. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that Nairobi is the center of business. We welcome you for 3 very major events that are taking place in Nairobi this year. In April, the African Union, the ACFTA, trade ministers, and also our private sector in Africa, 100 top companies in Africa are converging here in Nairobi to develop the implementation matrix now that we have got a critical mass of countries that have ratified this CFTA. In July, alongside the mid-year summit of the African Union, we welcome you to the Kenya International Investment Conference right here in Nairobi. And of course, His Excellency the President is going to host, as the chair of CAHOS, the African Heads of State on Climate Change, our summit on climate change for Africa. And as I talk about this issue of climate change, as I conclude, is to say the conversations that were started in Sharm el-Sheikh in COP27 about the finance for the issue of climate transition. We are saying there is no better country to pilot this. And I've said this to Ambassador and the team, that we are saying we are ready and to champion and to take the body blows for this very difficult decision. And as a minister in charge of industry, I know I am under pressure from industry asking me, are we really able to industrialize on green? And I've been promised that in that journey we are not alone. And Ambassador has promised me that Europe will open the checkbook, as was indeed agreed in Sharm el-Sheikh, to help Kenya to transition, and so that you can be able to put climate finance to incentivize Kenya as a pilot and an early mover in these conversations. So with those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I want to welcome you again to Nairobi. Asante sana.
A round of applause for Waziri Moses Kuria. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's now my singular duty and honor to invite the European Investment Bank Vice President, Mr. Thomas Ostro, to come and make his remark. Welcome, sir. Let's appreciate him.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency President Ruto, Cabinet Secretaries, Ministers, Ambassadors, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, friends. As Vice President of the European Investment Bank, responsible for East Africa, it is my honor to welcome you all to EU-Kenya Business Forum today. Karibuni. It's a pleasure to be back in Nairobi and to be here in Kenya on the first high-level official visit from the European Investment Bank in Africa this year. The European Investment Bank is, as you know, the world's largest multilateral development bank, owned directly by the 27 European Union member states. And last year, the European Investment Bank provided more than 4.1 billion euros for private and public investment across this continent. This was during the first full year of operation of our new dedicated development finance arm, EIB Global. In November 2021, EIB President Werner Hoyer and I unveiled EIB Global when launching our first regional hub here in Nairobi. The hub covers 12 countries across East Africa, from Djibouti to Tanzania. We have worked with Kenyan partners to support transformation of private and public investment across this country for the last 47 years. And during that time, we have provided more than 1.6 billion euros for investment only here in Kenya. Our engagement has benefited millions of Kenyans through support for better access to clean water, affordable energy, enhancing ports and harnessing wind and solar power and geothermal energy. Over that time, EIB has also supported investment by thousands of Kenyan entrepreneurs and companies across the country, and this mostly in partnership with leading Kenyan financial institutions. This includes our largest ever support for the blue economy business financing and dedicated backing for investment by companies led by women, crucial for economic development and financial inclusion. So during my 5 days visit to East Africa this week, which apart from Kenya will also continue in Tanzania, I will be announcing European Investment Bank support for more than 1 billion euros worth of new investments by local businesses. Later today, I will join Trade and Development Bank President Tadesse to formally sign our largest ever business financing cooperation, which will enhance access to finance by African companies impacted by trade disruptions, the pandemic, and the recent energy price shocks triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The European Investment Bank and the European Union stands by African businesses during a time of unprecedented and often unpredictable challenges. This week's EU-Kenya Business Forum and the EU-Tanzania Business Forum taking place on Thursday and Friday in Dar es Salaam comes at a crucial time when African business must be encouraged and enabled to expand, harness new business opportunities, and create skilled jobs. The European Investment Bank and the European Union and all our European Union partners are working hard to strengthen access to finance through targeted business financing. But equally important, my colleagues and I are here to listen to your investment needs and to identify new investments and business opportunities. I wish to take this opportunity to thank the government of Kenya and cabinet secretaries from the new Ruto administration who met my colleagues here in Nairobi only 2 weeks ago to discuss EIB financing for priority public investment across this country. We look forward to working together with you to build a better future, to tackle climate change and ensure that Kenyan businesses can grow in the years ahead. And I'm ready to, Mr. Minister, to depose my passport until we have signed the new deals together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, European Investment Bank Vice President, Mr. Thomas. Asante sana. Your Excellency, allow me now to invite the Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Moses Kuria, to come and kindly invite you to address us. Waziri, kindly. Noted, sir. Waziri Mutua.
Your Excellency, President William Ruto, Cabinet Secretaries, Minister, my friend from France will be traveling with you tomorrow, looking at some projects, looking forward to it. Business delegates who are here, as you've heard from our Minister, Kenya is open for business. Our job is not to frustrate business, but to facilitate business. And we're going to make sure that everybody who is here is comfortable, because at the end of the day, it's about money in the pocket. It's about employment, it's about growing the economy, and that's what we are all about. It is now my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, President William Ruto, to address this meeting. Karibu, President.
Good morning, everybody. Please, let's take our seats. Thank you. Honorable Ministers, Cabinet Secretaries, Permanent Secretaries, Ambassadors, business community, good morning. Again, let me welcome all of you, those who are coming here from outside our country. Welcome to Kenya on behalf of the people and government of Kenya. Welcome to Nairobi and welcome to Kenya. I am happy to be with you this morning in this very important forum, which marks the beginning of what promises to be the most significant development in the field of trade and economic relations between Kenya and the European Union. From the robust attendance that I see this morning, I see a common belief that there is value in this relationship between Kenya and the EU, a value in engagement, a value in negotiations, and a value in partnership. This forum is the culmination of determined efforts under the bilateral strategic dialogue, which has been facilitated by the cordial relations between Kenya and the EU delegation. It is highly encouraging to note that this forum has not only brought together high-level officials from both sides, but I'm also informed that it will attract between 500 and 700 participants from all sectors. For a first installment, this magnitude of positive interest indicates the level of business opportunities that stand to be unlocked through our strategic dialogue. It also shows that the Kenya-EU relations are deep and extend beyond development cooperation between our governments to many highly impactful areas in both business and private sectors. I am confident, therefore, that we are off to an excellent start, and that we may all look forward to highly productive deliberations over the next 2 days, which will give way to very rewarding engagements into the future. This confidence is underpinned by the fact that, as matters stand now, the EU is the largest destination for Kenyan exports, accounting for about Kenya shillings 170 billion in 2021. Equally fundamental is that the EU accounted for 16.5% of Kenya's total import bill in the same year, which amounted to 355 billion Kenya shillings, and represents an increase in value of imports to 14.8% from the previous year. Trading with the EU helps Kenya create millions of direct and indirect jobs in tea, coffee, cut flowers, and peas value chains, which are our main exports. In fact, 70% of our total flour production is exported to the EU, and from the EU to other destinations. Kenya and the EU are engaged in a fairly vigorous trade regime. It is only reasonable that as business partners on such a scale, we should be engaging more and engaging all the time. As you are aware, the government remains to unlock high rates of economic growth by focusing on our 5 priority areas which form the pillars of our agenda for the rapid socio-economic development of our country. As the highest multiplier of employment opportunities, agriculture is a key pillar of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda to increase incomes and employment and reduce poverty and inequality. Its strong linkages mean that the impact of agriculture cuts across manufacturing all the way to logistics with positive outcomes in every sector in between. These benefits and opportunities are curtailed by barriers faced by our agricultural exports to the EU. They are subjected to product and market-specific restrictions as well as onerous phytosanitary standards, compounding infrastructure-related challenges like difficulties with flights and low technological capacity, which hinder productivity. I believe that continued consultations, like the one we are having this morning, and collaboration can unlock these barriers and smoothen the path for stronger trade relations and investment opportunities. The second pillar of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda is the micro, small, and medium enterprise sector, where many Kenyans in our economy are based. This sector absorbs 9 out of every 10 people who join the workforce. The need to establish MSME sector business development centers across the country is urgent and cannot be gainsaid. Providing young people with stronger technological know-how, operational capability, business management skills, and general entrepreneurial capacities is critical. Our skills-based, technology-oriented TVETs seek to empower our young people with relevant skills, while our county-based industrial and aggregation parks will provide meaningful avenues for aggregation, value addition, and agro-processing. We are also ameliorating the housing shortage in the country, particularly in our urban centers, by embarking on the development of affordable and social housing units in projects that are intentionally labor-intensive in order to create opportunities for skilled and unskilled labor throughout the country. We have set out, for example, under this pillar, that we are going to be constructing 200,000 houses every year in all counties in the Republic of Kenya. The housing projects also consume locally produced materials, as well as fittings and fixtures fabricated and assembled by Kenyan MSMEs. Additionally, the government is committed to the provision of universal health coverage. This program requires intensive investment in various dimensions of the health sector, from developing and equipping facilities of various levels to the provision of medical and therapeutic supplies. In this context, we are working with private sector to provide infrastructure facilities, manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, and other interventions that will help in the private-public relationship as we deliver this assignment on health. Finally, we shall escalate the provision of internet bandwidth throughout the country under our digital superhighway and creative economy pillar. Our plan is to enhance Kenya's leadership position in the provision of financial technology and innovation and expand to animation, robotics, and artificial intelligence to enhance thousands of our young people participate confidently in the digital economy. These sectoral commitments require the investment of huge amounts of capital, there are also clear opportunities for the EU firms to plug in, especially under our public-private partnership model. The legal framework for PPP is now in place, and investors can engage with confidence in all our areas of priority and areas of interest by our partners. A year ago, I engaged the European Business Council and shared my vision in terms of the business environment and the rules of the game. I expressed commitment with regard to institutionalization of our governance and sound institutional quality and the rule of law. I wish to confirm to you that I have made progress in implementing those undertakings to pursue solutions. The Kenya Revenue Authority, for example, is less arbitrary and more rational in executing its mandate, and now pursues alternative dispute resolution with a firm and fair focus on optimizing revenue collection and at the same time providing a customer-sensitive service to all taxpayers. The Inspector General of the National Police Service is now an accounting officer, which makes the police service truly independent and can handle all matters to do with the security and security of property and life of citizens, including our investors. We are making progress in supporting the judiciary to reach Kenyans closer at the grassroots by establishing additional court stations throughout the country as a mechanism to enhance our ease of doing business and making sure that disputes are resolved in time so that there are no losses and there are no unnecessary delays. The rule of law depends on the independence of such institutions and go a long way to anchor the caliber of business that makes Kenya a compelling investment destination. I am confident that we shall make further progress steadily going forward. Kenya alone is an economy of around 55 million people who consume plenty of products from the EU. We remain uniquely geostrategic as the gateway to the East and Central Africa and are a central player in 3 overlapping regional economic communities: the East African Community, the Common Markets for East and Southern Africa, and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We are also a strong participant in the vast tripartite agreement encompassing EAC, COMESA, and SADC. As you've heard from Moses, this is an agreement, the tripartite agreement was signed in 2015, and unfortunately for the last 7 years or so, we haven't concluded that agreement to the satisfaction of the requirements of the regulations. In the last 1.5 months, I have sent Moses, my cabinet secretary, to 11 capitals, and he's been all the way to Egypt, Angola, Comoros, Uganda, Tanzania, Lesotho, South Africa, and I now can promise with confidence that by end of April, we will have the tripartite agreement in place, and 28 countries in our continent will be working as one trading bloc with 750 million people and an economy of $1.8 trillion. I think it is a great opportunity that as the EU looks at Kenya, you are also looking at the tripartite agreement, 750 million people, and a huge economy to deal with. I think we can now have a conversation of equals. For the EU Business Council, I want to state that doing business in Kenya is strategic and highly beneficial, literally in every way. This is why it is also important that the EU undertake a fresh push to conclude the Economic Partnership Agreement with East African Community. And I'm really looking forward to this being concluded so that we can even the scales. Access to the EU market would enable Kenya expand its export base, thereby multiplying employment opportunities and strengthening its balance of trade. It is one of the notable interventions that can make tremendous difference to our economic performance, and there is excellent reason in the EU's best interest to conclude this deal. Kenya is undergoing the adverse impact of climate change, leading to extreme weather patterns, including a drought in our arid and semi-arid rangelands, which covers nearly 70% of our landmass. In these northern and northeastern stretches, rain has failed for 4 consecutive seasons, leading to widespread crop failure, livestock deaths, starvation, and malnutrition, water stress, immense economic loss, and conflict. This adversity is part of a broader phenomenon afflicting the Horn of Africa, which we all know. Our agriculture-driven economic transformation agenda, industrialization, food security, wealth, and job creation is in jeopardy if we remain vulnerable to erratic rain patterns. Thus, this agenda not only has to be complemented by a strong water harvesting and supply and irrigation infrastructure component, our entire bottom-up economic transformation agenda must be premised on strong green growth. Let me repeat, strong green growth. And let me say this, because I am speaking to business, that humanity is at a crossroads. Business is at a crossroads. Investment is at a crossroads. Do we continue the coal-fired, fuel-powered growth that has brought us where we are today with the kind of weather and climate change situation that we face, or we take a new trajectory on the path on green growth? That is the option humanity is faced with today. And as business leaders, it is important for you to analyze where the future is. Is the future in coal-powered growth, or is the future in green growth? I think the choice is rather obvious. It is not possible. It is not prudent. It is not moral. It is not right to continue the path of coal-powered, fuel-powered growth, because it poses an existential threat not just to Africa, to the globe. And many would ask, is it possible to industrialize with green growth? Let me give you the answer. Kenya is the largest economy in our region. Yet, our manufacturing, our industrialization, our economy is powered by renewable energy. 92% of energy in Kenya is renewable energy. It gives you the testimony that it is possible to run a country, to run an economy, to run industrialization on green energy. Therefore, as business leaders, as people who are investors, where is the future? if you ask yourself. Let me point to you where the future is. The future is in green growth. And green growth, the leader in green growth is in the African continent. Why do I say so? This is the continent that has 50 times renewable energy that is demanded by the world. 50 times, number one. This is the continent that has 60% of all solar renewable energy. This is the continent that has cobalt, manganese, and all the other products that you need for battery and for hydrogen technology. This is the continent that has 70% of its population under 30, giving you the human resource that will power the industrialization and manufacturing going into the future. This is the continent of 1.4 billion people. If you are looking for a market, I've just explained to you that the African CFTA brings a market of 1.4 billion people. As an investor, if you are looking at the future, and the future is green growth, and green growth is in Africa, and the ingredients of driving that green growth is renewable energy. And renewable energy, we have 50 times in Africa. You should know where your future and the future of your business and investment should be going. I do not explain. I know you are intelligent people, and I'm sure that's why you are sitting in this room, because you know where the future is. And I want to welcome you to Kenya. We are going to provide the necessary leadership to make sure that we come to the table with solutions on climate change, with solutions on green growth, to provide the globe with the solution. Where are we going? And the necessary infrastructure that will take us to the next level. I am very confident that green industrialization, green manufacturing, the epicenter is going to be in this continent, and your first foot should be in Kenya. An ambitious climate action, biodiversity loss mitigation, and conservation and pollution control agenda, as well as robust carbon trading framework, presents immense possibilities for investors in the green economy. I have set out several sectors and areas where our development agenda at the program and project level offers numerous undeniable investment opportunities. I am sure tomorrow you will be continuing this conversation. You will go in depth into the opportunities that are there, and officials of my government, led by my good friend Moses, will lead that charge. And if there are any questions and they are unable to answer, please report them to me. The purpose of this forum is to channel the power of the invisible hand by striking collaborative partnership and other cooperative arrangements aligned to these opportunities in order to unlock a win-win mutual benefit engagement. The progress made towards success of deliberations on this forum depend on the ability of participants to initiate and sustain deep and candid conversations, demonstrate good faith, and appeal to mutual benefit in order to address concerns, allay fears, give comfort, and build the necessary trust for us to move together. There are problems to be solved, opportunities to be unlocked, and progress to be made in order to make economy, agriculture, green energy, ICT, and other infrastructure work for the people of Kenya and also work for our partners in this forum. As I have observed earlier, in this forum is off to a very good start. I am confident that we will come out, all of us, with a win-win arrangement. I thank the organizers for a good job. I wish my good sister, Ambassador, she's been very pivotal. She has not given us peace in making sure that we do what we have to do. I wish all of you fruitful deliberations and look forward to a wonderful outcome. Thank you very much.
The European Investment Bank Vice President, the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, and also the French Minister on stage. The rest of us can take our seats. After we are done with the first photo, Your Excellency, you'll allow me to invite all the EU ambassadors to join after that photo. We take the first one at the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. May we have the EU ambassadors joining His Excellency on stage. Thank you so much. I will invite all the excellencies to take their seats as we leave His Excellency on stage as we come to the end of our program. Their excellencies to take their seat as His Excellency remains on stage for the national anthem. All the excellencies to take their seats. May we be upstanding. May we be upstanding for the national anthem of the Republic of Kenya. Thank you so much. We remain standing as His Excellency takes his leave. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's appreciate His Excellency as he takes his leave. Asante. Asante sana. I'll be handing over back the program to my co-MC, Boni Tunya.
Seats, please. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may take your seats. find your piece of the jigsaw, how you fit in, what works for you. We'll also spend a couple of moments in the course of today and tomorrow to visit different conversations as we go specific, identifying some of the pain points as far as trade between the EU and Kenya is concerned. But more importantly is that we'll lean into what is working, going by all the excellent reports that we've received from all the different speakers that we've heard today. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go into that, I'm really excited to bring to your attention that we will be witnessing 6 agreements signed in front of us today. And these are just the beginning of a great journey that we all want to take together. And so we will proceed to the signing before we go to the next session. First up, I'd like to invite on stage to take the seats the Vice President of the European Investment Bank, Mr. Tomas Ostros, and the President of the Trade and Development Bank Group, Mr. Admasu Tadase. Also joining us to witness this would be the Head of Division for Public Sector of the European Investment Bank, Mr. Dietrich Zabon, and the Head of the Nairobi office, Mr. Ed Klassen. Please, if you could welcome. And the Ambassador, my apologies. So, all right, great. So just before we start, after that, obviously, I'll invite you to linger on for the photos because we'll be having several documents that we'll be signing. Is that okay? Great. I'd like to invite Mr. Tomas Ostros to take a seat, as well as Mr. Admasu Tadase, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, the agreement that we are witnessing is a loan agreement between the European Investment Bank and the Trade Development Bank. As you do know, the European Investment Bank, through its new dedicated program finance arm, the IEB Global, today formally agreed to provide a trade finance facility of $200 million to the Trade and Development Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, this amount is expected to support $400 million in new private sector investment, including the companies from across all sectors, including agri-food manufacturing, which has been impacted by disruption of trade flows following the Russia-Ukrainian crisis and COVID-19 pandemic. The new credit line is expected to provide working capital, supply chain finance, and investment loans to micro-enterprises, SMEs, and mid-cap companies across the region served by DTB, including supporting financing through local financial intermediaries. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could proceed to sign. For another proper round of applause. Thank you so much. Yes, number 2 is on.
No, this one is going to be last.
Great. Next, we'll be witnessing the signing of the Propaco investment agreement with Haley's. I'd like to invite on stage the Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade of the French Republic, His Excellency Olivier Bech. Also, Propaco Head for East Africa, Audrey Magan, as well as Haley's Managing Director, Dr. Rupen Harrier, on stage. Also joining them will be the Chief Operating Officer for the IBL East Africa Investments, Michel Pilot, as well as this will be witnessed by the Ambassador of France to Kenya, His Excellency Mr. Arnaud Sikwet, as well as the head of the FDB for Kenya, Mr. Bertrand Wilco. Great, are we all set? If you could just take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, it will interest you to know that Proparco is a French development bank financer to private sector and has invested about 13 million euros in Harley's leading distributor for pharmaceutical products and medical equipment in East Africa. The financing along co-investor IBL, the largest conglomerate in Mauritius, is aimed at supporting Harley's growth plan and is expected to have a positive social impact by promoting job creation and better access to pharmaceutical products in East Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, Harley's strategy is to develop and distribute in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and possibly other neighboring countries in a range of pharmaceutical products that are currently not available or only marginally available in these countries. Shall we proceed with the signing, please? Fantastic. Let's give a proper round of applause to the Proparco investment agreement with Harley's. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, let's shake hands. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Excellent. Interconnected. Excellent. Thank you very much. Fine. Yes, one more photo, please. If you could hold them up, broad smiles. Excellent. Thank you very much. And I think since we're still with Proparco, Your Excellency Olivier, I'd request you to remain on stage, as well as Audrey. I'd like to invite on stage the Chief Executive Officer for WorkPay, Mr. Paul Kimani, to join us on stage. As Mr. Kimani comes, this will be witnessed by the Ambassador of France to Kenya, as well as the head of FDB in Kenya, and Eve Martin. Are we all set? Please have your seats and proceed. So, ladies and gentlemen, this agreement is between Proparco and its funding of WorkPay. As I mentioned, Proparco is the French development bank financing to private sector, and WorkPay is a Kenyan startup that offers a fully integrated human resource management platform dedicated to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, with services ranging from recruitment to payroll, including absence day management, as well as employee portage solution, notably offered to large corporate clients. Ladies and gentlemen, WorkPay's digital solution is particularly relevant in a market where the majority of employees in local SMEs are still paid in cash, where the HR management is still manual. Proparco's funding of 500,000 euros, is financing WorkPay and is done through the Bridge by Digital Africa Fund, which aims to address the challenges faced by young, innovative African companies whose development, especially between two rounds of financing, can be slowed down due to the lack of available funding. Please proceed. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a proper round of applause. If you could hold up the agreement, broad smiles, let's take a picture. Excellent. Let's give a proper round of applause. So, please don't leave. we have a few more to go. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agreement we'll be witnessing is between Propaco, providing technical assistance to Solarize. In addition to the dignitaries on stage, I'd like to invite the head of products and markets for Solarize Africa, Axel Luisi. Okay. Please have your seats. Just for your information, Solarize is a Pan-African company that is operating in Kenya, South Africa, and Rwanda in the area of clean energy and energy efficiency leasing company. Through its network of partners, Solarize Africa offers turnkey B2B clean energy systems, particularly from solar PV, including plant construction, financing, and servicing. Propaco will provide a technical assistance to support Solarize towards sustainable growth. The agreement has three major components. That is the development of new markets, the support in the implementation of an environmental and social action plan, as well as the support for an upgrade of Solarize internal processes. Please proceed.
And then thereafter, maybe another one, but I don't know yet.
Fantastic. Round of applause, please, as they exit stage. And my apologies to the French delegation for massacring your names. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we'll witness the Memorandum of Understanding between KEPSA, that is the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and SARIO, that is the Slovak Investment and Trade Development Agency. This agreement will be signed by the Chief Executive Officer of KEPSA, Mrs. Carol Kariuki, as well as the Director of Foreign Trade Department of SARIO, Mr. Egon Zorad. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this will be witnessed by the Director General of Economic and Development Cooperation at the Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs of the Slovak Republic, Mrs. Lucia Kiss, as well as the Trade Counselor at the Embassy of Slovakia, Mr. Jan Petrus. Yes, put up the banner. So as we settle and put up the banners, I'd like to just tell you a little bit about this MOU. As you all know, KEPSA is the apex organization of the private sector in Kenya. And KEPSA brings together local and foreign business associations, chambers of commerce, professional bodies, corporates, and from multinational companies, medium, SMEs, and startups from all sectors of the economy to enable them to speak with one voice when engaging government, development partners, and other stakeholders on cross-cutting policy issues and programs for social economic development in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, KEPSA also supports businesses with opportunities for training, networking, financial linkages, mentorship, and coaching, as well as access to markets, value chains, and access to investment opportunities inbound and outbound globally. Through its widespread membership categories that represent over 1 million businesses, KEPSA brings these businesses under one umbrella. The Slovak Investment and Trade Development Agency is the investment and trade promotion state agency of the Slovak Republic within the competence of the Ministry of Economy of the Slovak Republic. Again, you may want to know that the goal of this memorandum is to enhance the cooperation of these two key trade promotion organizations in order to further intensify the commercial exchange between the Republic of Kenya and the Slovak Republic. Excellent. Thank you so much, Sario and KEPSA. Clearly, they're in trade and business promotion. They came fully prepared with the banners and everything. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be witnessing a final agreement this morning, and this is the Business Environment and Export Enhancement Program, if you like to call it BIP. This agreement will be signed by the EU Ambassador to Kenya, Her Excellency Mrs. Henriette Geiger, the Chief Executive Officer of the Trademark Africa, Mr. David Beer. This agreement will be witnessed by the Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade and Industry, the Honorable Moses Kuria, the Principal Secretary Trade, Mr. Alfred Kombundo, the Principal Secretary Investment Promotion, Mr. Abubakar Hassan Abubakar, Trademark Africa Country Director for Kenya, Mr. Ahmed Farah, the Director for Sustainable Finance, Investment and Jobs from the Directorate General of the International Partnership, Mr. Antti Kahunen, the EU Head of Cooperation, Mrs. Irene Giribaldi, the EU Trade Counselor, Mr. Martin Bolen, and the Program Manager, Mr. Adolfo Ceres. Quite the delegation, quite the delegation. Excellent. As they get to sign, I'd like to let you know a little bit about this agreement. Now, the Business Environment and Export Enhancement Program is a 25 million euro EU grant-funded project implemented by Trademark Africa. It consists of 20 million euro for export promotion, greening of value chains, and using digitization and other means to make trade faster and easier. Furthermore, 5 million euros will be dedicated to support the government in improving the investment climate and the ease of doing business at national and country level. The action will focus on a full ecosystem of certain goods and supply chains and is aligned with the government's integrated national export development strategy. This is an envisaged impact is to be in line with the EU Global Gateway combining economic development, infrastructure, digital solutions, and as well as a focus to make economic activities greener while including the government, private sector, the financial institutions in their implementations. Round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. If we could hold up the agreements for one more photo. Excellent. Thank you very much as you take your seats. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.